Terrorist attacks occur only insofar as they are later shown on television. There is no other motivation. Well, imagine, something happened, 1 or 2 people died. So what? If no one knows about this, what is the point of these attacks? Terrorist attacks are needed only in view of the fact that then, during the week, it will be broadcast on television. If we calculate the advertising budget of the terrorist attack in Moscow, then it is hundreds of millions of dollars. That is, hundreds of millions of dollars were spent on advertising this event, at least. Count all the time of the TV channels. I don't understand why these sensible thoughts somehow don't make their way. But we are ready to systematically present you with very short notes, but that we are presenting is one thing. But it's another thing those who decide these questions and say, guys, how long can you keep taking us for fools? So we are fighting terrorism or are we developing it? If we are developing it, then set a specific task. Then we understand what we are doing. If we are fighting it, how can we fight if all our funds are invested exclusively in advertising terrorism? Therefore, in your system, Babkov Filip Denisovich is familiar with our information in detail. And, by the way, he assisted in solving some questions. So, in his recent interview, he cited an example from the Soviet era. Then they understood the technique of social magic. Then it was not shown. It was not simply without reason that it was not shown. Because what you show, then a month later you will see this in life. Where did all these atrocities in American schools come from? Only because it also slips in there. But American television and ours are night and day. There is not even 100th part of what falls on our heads. And, nevertheless, there are shootings of children in schools and so on. From where? This is through such television programs, action films and so on. And Filip Denisovich Babkov gave an example in this interview. Back in Soviet times, there was a case of self-immolation, if I'm not mistaken, in Lithuania or Latvia. And they wrote about it in the newspapers. And so it went. These events went all over the country. Until they stopped supplying information, it did not stop. The second case that he cited, a young couple went out onto the balcony on their wedding day and threw themselves from the 9th floor and died. It was shown on television. And there instantly started a series of the same events with newlyweds all over the country. If you are shown a case of how a young man shoots his colleagues in the army, this is the programming of these events. You understand that if it is shown on television, it costs a lot of money. Shown for what? In order to repeat these cases. How does it work? A soldier sits, relaxed, and gazes at his television, and sees it all. And for him, all this is driven into the unconscious levels of the psyche. And tomorrow, when the next day comes, out of 100,000 people who have viewed this news, one of them has a difficult everyday situation. When his hands are also tied behind his back, something else, and from the unconscious levels of the psyche, the algorithm which he saw on television is activated. And exactly what is shown on television will happen. This is the ABC, without understanding which, talking about the fight against terrorism, except for laughter, evokes nothing in those people who are engaged in real governance. And not at this level here, trying to pump something.